So this video is one that's a bit different than the kind I'm used to making, but with some people I know picking up Payday 2 for the first time recently, this is a video I felt would be helpful to make to get easing into the game a bit easier for them. So what I'm doing today is I'm making a sort of beginner's guide to skills in Payday 2. The skill system in this game is a bit different than a lot of others, and I felt it would be helpful to make a sort of quick instruction on which skills to go for, especially for beginners, to help get started on making builds, on getting into the game really without having to worry too much about debating which skills are worth taking and which skills you should avoid. So first off, I'm going to start with the skills that you should always take as a beginner regardless of how you're going to play the game. And the first one is going to be in the Fugitive tree, and it will be 9 lives in Revenant, and you'll want to ace that so you can get the extra life, essentially. And that is something that's useful not just for beginners but for everyone. This is something I tend to always run in my builds as well, even though I have over 500 hours in this game and a little over half of the achievements to be unlocked. This is something that you're just always going to want, essentially, unless you're really confident that you're never going to go down. So actually, before I continue, I feel like I should mention the ace mechanic of the skills. So the way that the game works is there's a basic version of each skill and an aced version. And to get to the capstone skill in any of the tree, you're going to need to ace at least one skill in the tree. And the ace will provide an extra, oftentimes better bonus on top of the basic. And to redeem that, you just redeem the skill twice. And that's essentially how you ace skills. Another thing to throw out is that the ace is often going to be at least twice the cost of the basic skill. So for tier 1 skills, the ace will cost 3. For tier 2, the ace will cost 4. For tier 3, it'll cost 6. And for tier 4, it will cost 8. So yeah, about double for every tier except tier 1. Getting back to the point of the video though, the next skill that you're going to always want is going to be Bullseye. Now, how you get to Bullseye doesn't really matter. That really depends on personal preference. If you hate flashbangs, you can ace Resilience. That's what I tend to do because flashbangs are incredibly annoying in my opinion. But if you're running a build that has you interacting with the drills or the objectives a lot, you can take Die Hard. Although this one is probably the most generally useful between the 3 options, so if you're not sure what to go with, you can't go wrong with Die Hard. If you're moving around the map a lot and you're trying to move the loot between objectives, you should do Transporter. But yeah, this is really just personal preference. You know, try out each of them. You can't really go wrong with any of them, and hell, you should probably just take multiple of these if it tickles your fancy anyways, but because these 3 are all optional, that's really up to your prerogative. But just for this video, I'm going to ace Resilience. And what Bullseye does is it will you will regenerate 5 armor for every successful headshot you land every 2 seconds. And that's already a really good skill, just reading that. It's more sustainability in battle. But what makes this particularly good is one of the mechanics in this game, which is armor gating, which is essentially as long as you have even one armor point left, if you take damage, it will not deal health damage until the next hit. So, say you have no armor and you take a hit that'll deal 20 damage, you're going to lose 20 health. But if you have even one armor point left and you take a hit that'll deal 20 damage, you'll only take that one armor point of damage. The only exception to this is snipers, which ignore armor gating, but still for general combat, ignoring snipers, this is something you're always going to want. And lastly, for skills that you're effectively always going to want, you're going to want Duck and Cover and Second Wind. Now, both of these are mobility based skills. For Duck and Cover, your stamina will generate 25% earlier and 25% faster, and you'll also sprint 25% faster. So this will make you a lot more mobile. You can dash longer, you can dash more often, and you can dash faster. And for Second Wind, this is also mobility, but also a bit of survivability. Whenever your armor breaks, your movement speed will be increased by 30% for 5 seconds, and that extra 30% is very noticeable. You can absolutely tell when this kicks in, and it can save your butt pretty often. Admittedly, these are less imperative than the previous skills I've talked about, but still, regardless of the build you're running, you really can't go wrong with either of these skills, and I would highly recommend them. So at this point, you should be left with about 107, maybe 108 skill points, depending on how you choose to allocate your skill points in the tank tree. So at this point, the points you spend will depend on how you play the game. And firstly, I'm going to talk about skills that will affect deployables. Now, all the deployables, most of the deployables, I should say, actually, are viable for different reasons. But the main ones you're going to see for Loud, which is going to be the focus of this video, are going to be the ammo bag, the doctor bag, and the first aid kit. The sentry gun is fine. I find it to be a little less useful than the other three, and the armor bag is outright the single worst deployable in the game. You should never be using this. There's never any reason to use this. Don't use this. It's awful and terrible and bad, and you shouldn't use this ever for any reason. And the ordnance bag is fine, but since there aren't any skills to improve it or play into sort of grenadier playstyles, it's not as useful or universal as the others. And there are other ways to replenish grenades through skills or through crew abilities. So the ordnance bag I really wouldn't recommend. It's not the worst choice, but I, again, just can't really recommend it. So the next skills I'm going to go over will cover the doctor bag, the first aid kit, and the ammo bag. And I might briefly touch on the sentry gun too. So first I'm going to start out with the first aid kit skills. Those will all be in the medic tree. You're going to want to take Combat Medic Basic, Quick Fix Aced, and Uppers Aced. And just as a side note here, if it is available to you, it's good courtesy to always take Inspire Aced to be able to revive your allies instantly and from a short distance, and that can really make or break certain heists, especially if things are getting particularly dicey. And just as an optional choice, if you want to get more use out of reviving your teammates, you can take Painkiller's Ace for some damage reduction. But getting back on track to just the first aid kits, Combat Medic is just to open up the rest of the skill tree. Quick Fix will increase your deploy time, or decrease your deploy time, excuse me, for your first aid kits or doctor bags. And your crew that will use them will take 10 less damage for 2 minutes after that. So this will help you get out your deployables quicker, and this will help you get a little bit more potency out of using your first aid kits. That 10% less damage doesn't sound like much, but that is 1/10 of the damage you will be avoiding through that. And uppers, this is the one that's more so for the first aid kits, but this will add 7 more first aid kits to your inventory. I don't think I need to explain why that's good. And acing it will add 3 more. But the kicker for acing this is that if anyone is down within a 5-meter radius of the first aid kit you deploy, it will automatically be used, and that can be, that can really come in clutch. So next is the doctor's bags. You're still going to want to keep combat medic and quick fix, but instead of uppers, you're going to take combat doctor and ace that. And this one's a lot more simple, but you can deploy 2 doctor bags instead of 1, and your doctor bags will have 2 more charges each, giving each doctor bag 4 charges, and 2 doctor bags for a total of 8 charges. This is this skill I think is a lot more popular for solo play, since you can't really always rely on the AI to revive you more quickly, and you're going to be going down a lot more in solo play. But I'm not going to go too deep into that right now. So next I'm going to talk about these skills for ammo bag, and you're going to want to take Scavenger Basic, Bullet Storm Aced, and Extra Lead Aced. Scavenger, like with Medic, is just to open up the rest of the skill tree. Bullet Storm will allow people who use your ammo bags to shoot without depleting any of their ammunition for up to 15 seconds, so that's a skill I don't think I need to explain why that's good. And I feel lends itself to auto weapon playstyles really well, like especially with weapons like miniguns or LMGs. That's really good to just be able to hold down the button and kill whatever you see. And next is Extra Lead, and this is similar to the Doctor Bag, where it'll let you place 2 more and have more potency, containing more ammunition. And lastly, for all the deployables, I'm going to talk about the sentries, and the entire engineer skill tree is pretty much all about improving the sentries. So you're going to want to take Third Law aced, Eco Sentry aced, Sentry Targeting Package aced, Engineering aced, and Tower Defense aced. I'm not joking, literally this whole skill tree is almost entirely about the sentry guns. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, so I'm just going to leave it as your sentry guns become a lot more sustainable and a lot more powerful when taking all of these skills. The only exception is Jack of all trades, which will allow you to interact with deployables twice as fast. But the kicker of Jack of all trades is that this lets you equip a second deployable. So, just as a side note here, if you want to run a second deployable, you can take 2 skills. It literally does not matter unless you're using the sentry guns and then ace Jack of all trades. But this becomes a very expensive skill to take if you're not using the sentry guns. And I find it to be more useful for stealth anyways. So I would honestly ignore Jack of all trades until you get into, I suppose, higher level play, or you become more familiar with the game and the skills. So, regardless of the deployable you have, you should have about 91, 92 skill points left at this point. And at this point, I would recommend putting some points into skills that lend themselves to particular weapons, which I will go over now. So starting off for weapon skills, I'm going to talk about snipers and single fire weapons like ARs and SMGs first, simply because it's at the top of the skill tree. But those skills will all be in the sharpshooter tree. And the ones that I find most useful are Stable Shot Basic, Rifleman Basic, Ammo Efficiency Ace, and Aggressive Reload Aced. And Graze, this is a skill that's specifically for snipers. So if you're playing snipers, take Graze. If you're not, don't. And because at this point you're going to be taking most of the trees, I'm not going to talk too in depth on these skills, so I would recommend you read them. But for Stable Shot, this increases your stability, this increases your snap to zoom and your movement speed while aiming down sights. Ammo efficiency it's all in the name. It's ammo efficiency, and aggressive reload improves your reload speed with these weapons. Next will be shotguns, and this will be in Enforcer in the Shotgunner skill tree. But the ones that I find most useful will be Underdog Ace, which increases your damage and damage reduction when you're outnumbered. Shotgun Impact Ace is good for the extra shotgun damage. Shotgun CQB is faster reloads for shotguns. I personally like this, but it's not always completely necessary. The Close By Ace is good for your speed. It increases your rate of fire when firing from the hip, and you can hip fire while sprinting, so this is good for run and gun playstyles. And then Overkill Basic is this will increase your damage whenever you get a shotgun kill, which this is particularly potent because you'll see that's a 75% damage increase for 20 seconds. So yeah, this really lends itself to highly aggressive run and gun playstyles. Far Away is fine. Just real quick, I'm going to talk about these other two skills, but Far Away is fine. I don't personally care for it too much. And then Shotgun QCB will let you reload your shotguns faster, so you can't go wrong with that. But depending on how you need to allocate your skill points, this is something that you can do without. But if you're going to be running shotguns, these are the 4 skills you're going to want to really want. Next will be automatic weapons, which will be in the Oppressor skill tree. You're going to always want to take Steady Grip Basic, obviously. Then you're going to want to get Fire Control Basic, Surefire Ace, Lock and Load Ace, and Body Expertise Aced. Heavy Impact, this is a garbage skill. You should never take this, honestly. Stagger is... It's bad. But Steady Grip will increase your accuracy. You might want to ace this for the stability, especially if you're going to be using SMGs, because those can be really difficult to control. Fire Control will increase your accuracy while firing from the hip. Surefire will increase your ammo capacity for your magazines, but more importantly, acing this will allow you to penetrate body armor. Throwing it out there now, this does not penetrate shields or walls, this is just body armor, but that is still a very, very helpful skill, especially in conjunction with body expertise, which will allow you to deal 90% of your headshot damage on body shots with automatic weapons, which is insanely good, and I don't think I need to explain why. Lock and Load lets you hip fire while sprinting with automatic weapons, and if you kill 2 enemies before reloading, it increases your reload speed. This is my preferred weapon type, so this skill tree, in my opinion, and I am biased, I'll say that, is incredibly powerful. But no, this is a really good skill tree, and automatic weapons are very good, and I'm definitely biased. Lastly, I'm going to talk about pistol skills. And for that, you're going to want Equilibrium Basic, Gun Nut Basic, One-Handed Talent Ace, Desperado Ace, and Trigger Happy Ace. Actually, you're going to want to ace Equilibrium too. And what this does is this will equilibrium will increase your accuracy and swap speed with pistols. Gun nut will increase your magazine. One-handed talent will increase your damage with pistols. Desperado increases your accuracy and reload speed. And Trigger Happy gives you a very potent damage buff with pistols. And as a side note, you can find Akimbo in this skill tree, which increases your stability with akimbo weapons and increases their ammo capacity. So if you're running any kind of akimbo primary, doesn't matter if it's pistols or not, you're going to want this skill. So yeah, just as a side note for akimbo, you only need to take equilibrium basic for that. But yeah, no, for akimbo, primaries, ace that. And a side note with akimbo weapons is that these buffs will stack with other skill trees like shotgunner, if you're running akimbo shotguns, or oppressor if you're running auto weapons, or if you're running akimbo SMGs. Now at this point it becomes a bit more difficult to track how many skill points you should have left, so just for the sake of argument, I'm going to go ahead and take the most expensive skill tree, being Oppressor. And now will be the time I talk about more utility-based skill trees for just convenience or quality of life, or extra mechanics that you might find helpful. But this is what I consider to be lowest on the list of priorities. So yeah, this is essentially going to be the part of the video where I talk about everything else. So firstly, there's going to be the controller skill tree, and the big draw to this is going to be jokers. This is how you're going to want to allocate your points for controllers, but essentially jokers, these are cops that you can convert to fight for you, and there are a slew of benefits that come along with this, aside from just having an extra gun on your hand. These skills will make them do more damage, be able to take more damage. Confident will let you have 2 of them at once. And this one will give you some passive health regeneration. The biggest benefit to having jokers is just having the jokers. Those extra guns, that extra damage on your side, more guys to distract fire from you. This is in my opinion very good. Unfortunately, there isn't always room in builds for this, so definitely something to consider. But you are going to want to consider some of the other skill trees, and if it comes down to it, you can take points out of Hostage Taker if you can't afford it, as these are the most important skills to have if you're going to be running jokers. And if you can't take all of these, it might honestly not be super worth it to invest into this tree. So next is going to be the tank skill tree, and you're going to want to take all of these skills aced, as well as Shock and Awe basic. So the main draw to this skill tree is the access to the improved combined tactical vest, which is the best armor in the game. So if you're running builds that require you to be a bit tankier, take more damage, then this would be a very good skill tree to build into. However, just throwing it out there, there are skill trees, or not skill trees, there are perk decks that outright cannot benefit from armor, such as Grinder or Rogue or Hacker, as these all require that you use lighter armor. So do be aware of that. But essentially, once again, this will help with flashbangs and your armor recovery rate. This will decrease the speed penalty of bags that you carry for every 10 points you have, which I would consider essential if you're going to be running the improved combined tactical vest. This increases your armor points by a flat 20. This will give you better armor regeneration from your headshots, and this will increase your armor recovery rate. So yeah, if you're going to be using perk decks that benefit from using armor, this is a very good skill tree to consider. Next is the Breacher, and this is a skill tree that I would recommend that at least one person on every crew should put some points into. But the skills that you're going to want to take primarily from this are going to be Hardware Expert Aced, Drill Sergeant Aced, and Kickstarter Aced. These three skills are mostly about using C4, so I'm not going to talk about these right now, since C4 I think is more useful in higher level play, so I'm not gonna deal with that. But Hardware Expert will increase your drill efficiency, making them drill faster. Drill Sergeant will further increase your drill speed, and Kickstarter will give your saws, or will give your drills a chance to repair themselves automatically. And what's more fun about this one is Aced allows you to restart your drill by smacking it with a melee attack. Granted, it's only a 50% chance, but still, these are good skills to have, and I would highly recommend at least one person run these skills in every crew, just to reiterate. However, it's not really necessary for more than one person to run these skills, so if you're trying to maximize your crew's synergy, it might be a good idea to make sure that only one person has these three skills. So next is going to be everything in the Ghost family of skill trees, or I should say that this won't be next because pretty much everything in these three skill trees is either for stealth or better intended for higher level play. Artful Dodger and Silent Killer play pretty heavily into dodge mechanics, which is something I wouldn't really recommend beginners worry about or try. They are very good. They are very good for high level play. It's not that these are bad skill trees. It's just that these can become a bit complex and difficult to manage. So this is something that I would wait until you're more familiar with the game to worry yourself with. And when it comes to stealth, I mentioned earlier that I'm not going to discuss stealth in this video, so the Ghost tree, or the Ghost family, we are just going to ignore for this video. Next is Revenant, which is really all about self-sufficiency, and I would say is best applied for solo play, but it's not bad to have in multiplayer either, but this is something that I would consider imperative if you are playing solo. But after 9 lives, the skills you're going to want are going to be Feign Death Aced, Swan Song Aced, and Messiah Aced. Now, what makes these three, or what makes this tree so good for solo play is that it's all about staying alive in dire situations. This is basically revival. But Feign Death gives you a 45% chance to automatically get back up after being downed. I don't think I need to explain why that's good. Swan Song, which is a skill you might just want to take anyways, is something that lets you move around at a reduced speed for 6 seconds after getting downed. And with the aced version of this skill, whenever you fire your weapon, it will not deplete ammo for those 6 seconds. And this can be good for giving you a bit of extra time before going down, doing a bit of extra damage before going down, and getting closer to your allies so you can get revived easier after going down. And lastly, Messiah, and this is the cherry on the cake. This is the creme de la creme of solo play. But this allows you to revive yourself in bleed out if you kill an enemy while you're downed. And the ace version of this allows you to recharge this skill every time you use a doctor's bag. And this is an incredibly useful skill to have in solo. Not really so much in multiplayer, since you can rely on your crewmates a bit more. But yeah, if ever you're going to play this game solo, this is borderline essential in my opinion. And lastly is the Brawler skill tree. For this one, the ones you're going to want will be Martial Arts Basic, Pumping Iron Aced, Bloodthirst Basic, Berserker Aced, and Frenzy Aced. And what Brawler is about it's about improving your melee damage and increasing just your outright damage. Martial Arts will reduce your damage from melee attacks that you take. Bloodthirst will increase your melee damage up to 16 times for every kill you get with a gun, which this can be really good for taking out high priority special enemies like bulldozers, especially with more powerful melee weapons like the Spear of Freedom. Pumping Iron is just a straight melee damage buff for, I believe, twice as much. Berserker, this one is a bit more complicated, but this one increases your damage the lower your health is. And Frenzy plays into Berserker by reducing your maximum health to only 30% of what you would normally have, but you take 10% less damage, or you take 25% less damage. So this one really plays well into armor builds. So this skill tree is really good combined with tank. And honestly, for beginners, I wouldn't worry about this one too much. It's not the worst thing to go for. Again, the melee damage buffs and the damage reduction from Frenzy is all well and good. But again, going back to Grinder as an example, not all perk decks benefit super greatly from the Brawler skill tree. And there you have it. That would be my beginner's guide to skills in Payday 2. And to end this video real quick, I'm going to run through a couple of example builds that you could make if you want to sort of have this something to work off of for how you should allocate your skill points. But starting off, going to take these, going to take all of that, take that, take these skills, that, take duck and cover. Gonna omit second wind for this one just for that extra skill point to put into hostage taker to get that going for us. And then 9 lives. And as you can see, this fully distributes all of the skill points that we have. We have something to cover a deployable. We have a good quality of life tree in controller, so we can have jokers for a bit of extra health regen, some extra damage. This gives us access to bullseye, obviously still. Our drills are faster with this build, and we have a reliable source of damage from Oppressor with automatic weapons. Duck and cover will still give us our extra stamina. Had to compromise second wind, but that's fine for just compromising for maximum efficiency. Then we still have 9 lives here for that extra health, and this is a perfectly viable final build for a beginner. Something simple, not too complex. The most complex thing about this would be the jokers, but even that I think is still relatively manageable. But for another example build, let's take everything out of that tree and let's instead put it into Shotgunner. We can actually get rid of that one. So get those points in there, and say we want ammo bags for this build, so we got this here. We can take all this out because we're using shotguns. We can get that back, and just looking at everything here still, since this is a riskier build, maybe we do keep all of those skills still. And laying into that a bit more, we can take Swan Song, and we still have one odd point left, so just take that for a bit of extra damage reduction. And here we go for a quick and easy run and gun shotgun build with good survivability from the hostage taker. We have all these skills to improve our shotgun potency, the ammo, so if we're running and gunning extra fast, we can refill our ammo quick. Although, admittedly, it would probably be better to take these so you can heal yourself in the heat of battle a bit easier. And yeah, this is really just about survivability and reckless abandon. So yeah, just again, some quick examples of some easy builds that you can go for as beginners. You don't have to abide by this. This is supposed to be an outline, so you can decide what it is that you want to take and how you want to build your own playstyle. So I suppose just as a sort of review, your first priority should always be getting Bullseye for the armor gating. Then after that, you're going to want to get 9 lives for that extra down. You're going to want these two, although these can be compromised for that extra mobility, which mobility is always going to be helpful even for heavier builds like using the ICTV. After that, you're going to want to take weapon skills, so just pick a weapon class that you want to use. So for shotguns, it'll be shotgunner. For snipers, it'll be sharpshooter. For automatic weapons, ammo specialist. For pistols or akimbo, it'll be gunslinger. And then after you have that, your deployables are weapons, so ammo bags or first aid kits. Essentially, you'll put some points into that, and then you have all the rest of your skill points for quality of life. But your priority should always be Bullseye and 9 lives, effectively. And then you sort of work your way down from there. So yeah, I hope this video is helpful to you Payday 2 beginners out there. Let me know if this was easy to follow, if there's some changes I make, or hell, even from more experienced players than myself. Tell me some things I might have missed for a more effective guide, I suppose, or a better guide. But yeah, if you disagree, let me know. If you agree, let me know. And that will conclude my beginner's guide to skills in Payday 2.